The morning sun cast long shadows across the Naval Special Warfare Training Compound in Coronado, California. Staff Sergeant Maria Santos stepped out of the transport vehicle, her boots hitting the asphalt with quiet confidence. At 28, she carried herself with the composed bearing of someone who had earned every stripe on her uniform through years of dedicated service in the Army's elite K-9 units. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, and her brown eyes took in every detail of her new assignment with professional interest. Maria had been hand-picked for this Joint Operations Program, a groundbreaking initiative that would integrate Army K-9 specialists with Navy SEAL teams for enhanced tactical operations. The program was still classified, known only to a select few within the Pentagon. She had spent the last 3 years working with military working dogs in Afghanistan, building an almost supernatural bond with the animals that had saved countless lives during explosive detection missions. The SEAL compound buzzed with its usual morning activity. Teams of operators moved through their physical training routines, their movements precise and powerful. Maria observed them with the eye of a professional, noting their coordination and discipline. She had worked alongside special operations forces before, but the SEALs had a reputation that preceded them. They were known for their brotherhood, their unwavering loyalty to each other, and their sometimes harsh treatment of outsiders who hadn't proven themselves worthy of their respect. Commander Jake Morrison, the officer in charge of the training program, had briefed her extensively about what to expect. The SEALs would test her, he had warned. They would push boundaries, question her abilities, and make her prove that she belonged among them. It was their way of ensuring that anyone who joined their ranks could handle the pressure of real-world operations where lives depended on split-second decisions and absolute trust. As Maria made her way toward the administrative building to complete her check-in process, she noticed several SEAL operators watching her from across the compound. Their expressions were unreadable, but she could sense their curiosity mixed with skepticism. Word had already spread through the tight-knit community that someone new was joining their training program, though the specifics remained classified even from most of the operators who would be working alongside her. The K-9 facilities at the compound were state-of-the-art, featuring climate-controlled kennels, extensive training areas, and medical facilities that rivaled civilian veterinary hospitals. Maria spent her first afternoon familiarizing herself with the layout and meeting the staff who maintained the facilities. The compound housed 12 working dogs, each trained for specific operational roles including explosive detection, drug interdiction, and patrol work. Among the dogs was Rex, a 3-year-old German Shepherd whose handler had been injured during a training accident the previous month. Rex had been without a primary handler since then, and his behavior had become increasingly aggressive due to stress and lack of proper engagement. The kennel staff had struggled to manage him, and there had been discussions about whether he might need to be retired from active duty despite his exceptional abilities. Maria studied Rex's file with growing concern. The dog had been trained by one of the Navy's top handlers and had shown remarkable aptitude for explosive detection work. His nose was so sensitive that he could detect trace amounts of explosives that electronic equipment might miss. Losing such a valuable asset would be a significant blow to the program, but, more importantly, Maria could see that Rex was suffering from the separation and uncertainty. That evening, as Maria settled into her temporary quarters, she reviewed the training schedules and operational protocols that would govern her integration with the SEAL teams. The program called for a gradual introduction, starting with basic familiarization exercises and building toward complex joint operations that would test the effectiveness of K-9 enhanced SEAL tactics. She had deliberately kept a low profile during her first day, observing rather than asserting herself. Years of experience had taught her that earning respect in elite military units required patience and careful demonstration of competence rather than bold declarations of ability. She would let her work speak for itself, as it always had. The next morning brought her first official interaction with the SEAL operators who would be part of the joint training program. Lieutenant Commander David "Tank" Rodriguez led the 8-man team that had been selected for the pilot program. Tank was a 15-year veteran with multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan, and his team respected him for his tactical brilliance and unwavering commitment to their safety. The briefing room fell silent as Maria entered, wearing her Army combat uniform with her K-9 handler badge prominently displayed. Tank introduced her simply as Santos, Army K-9 specialist, here for joint training evaluation. He provided no additional details about her background or qualifications, following the security protocols that surrounded the classified program. The SEAL operators studied her with professional interest. Petty Officer First Class Mike Bulldog Chen had worked with K-9 units before and understood their value in certain operational scenarios. Petty Officer Second Class Tony Razor Martinez was more skeptical, having seen too many joint operations complicated by personnel who couldn't keep up with SEAL standards. The others maintained neutral expressions, reserving judgment until they could see her capabilities firsthand. During the briefing, Tank outlined the training progression that would unfold over the next several weeks. The program would begin with basic team integration exercises, allowing the K-9 specialist to understand SEAL tactics and procedures while the operators learned how to work effectively with military working dogs. As proficiency increased, the exercises would become more complex, culminating in full mission rehearsals that simulated real-world operational scenarios. Maria listened carefully, taking notes and asking occasional questions that demonstrated her understanding of tactical concepts. Her questions were intelligent and focused, revealing a depth of operational experience that impressed some of the operators despite their initial reservations. When Tank asked about her background, she provided a brief overview of her service record without boasting or overselling her qualifications. After the briefing, the team moved to the training areas for their first practical exercise. The scenario involved a building clearance operation where explosive devices might be present, requiring the coordination of human operators and K-9 detection capabilities. Maria would observe this initial exercise, allowing her to understand how the team functioned before introducing the complexity of working with dogs. The SEALs moved through the exercise with fluid precision, their communication crisp and their movements coordinated. Maria watched with professional appreciation, noting how each operator knew exactly where his teammates were at all times and how they adapted to changing tactical situations without missing a beat. Their reputation for excellence was clearly well-deserved. As the exercise concluded, Tank approached Maria for her initial assessment. She provided thoughtful feedback about how K-9 assets could enhance their capabilities while acknowledging the impressive level of coordination she had observed. Her comments were professional and constructive, avoiding any suggestion that their current methods were inadequate while identifying opportunities for improvement. The afternoon brought Maria's first visit to the K-9 facilities with the SEAL team. She introduced them to several of the working dogs, explaining their capabilities and demonstrating basic handling techniques. The dogs responded well to her calm confidence, and even the more experienced operators were impressed by her obvious expertise in managing the animals. When they reached Rex's kennel, Maria paused. The German Shepherd was pacing restlessly, his ears forward and his body language tense. She could see the stress in his movements and the frustration in his eyes. Without thinking, she stepped closer to the kennel, her voice taking on the soothing tone she used with all working dogs. Rex stopped pacing and approached the front of the kennel, his nose working as he took in her scent. Maria extended her hand slowly, allowing him to investigate her while she spoke quietly to him. The other operators watched with interest as the notoriously difficult dog began to relax slightly in response to her presence. Tank made a note in his training log about Maria's obvious skill with the animals. The program's success would depend heavily on the K-9 specialist's ability to manage the dogs effectively under stress, and her initial demonstration was encouraging. However, he also noted that working with cooperative dogs in a controlled environment was very different from managing them during high-stress operations where lives were at stake. As the day ended, Maria returned to her quarters with a sense of cautious optimism. The SEAL operators were professional and competent, and she believed the joint program had genuine potential to enhance their operational capabilities. The challenges would come as the training intensified and the artificial politeness of first meetings gave way to the honest evaluation of combat effectiveness. She spent the evening reviewing tactical manuals and K-9 training protocols, preparing for the more intensive exercises that would begin the following week. The integration of K-9 assets with SEAL operations required careful planning and precise execution, and she was determined to prove that the concept was not only viable but valuable. Meanwhile, in the SEAL team's common area, the operators discussed their new teammate. Opinions were mixed, with some expressing cautious optimism about her obvious competence while others questioned whether an Army specialist, regardless of qualifications, could truly understand the unique demands of SEAL operations. The debate would continue until she proved herself in the field, where words mattered less than results. The stage was set for a comprehensive evaluation that would test not only Maria's technical skills but her ability to integrate with one of the military's most elite units. The coming weeks would challenge every aspect of her training and experience, pushing her to demonstrate that she belonged among warriors who had earned their reputation through blood, sweat, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The second week of training brought Maria's first real test of integration with the SEAL team. The exercises had progressed from observation to active participation, and the operators were beginning to evaluate her performance under increasingly realistic conditions. Tank had designed scenarios that would push both the human and canine elements of the team, testing their ability to work together under pressure. Maria had been assigned to work with Duke, a 4-year-old Belgian Malinois trained in explosive detection and patrol work. Duke was considered one of the most reliable dogs in the program, with a calm temperament that made him ideal for complex operations. His previous handler had been transferred to another assignment, leaving Duke available for the joint training program. The morning exercise involved a compound clearance scenario where intelligence suggested multiple explosive devices had been planted throughout a simulated village. The SEAL team would need to move methodically through the area while Duke searched for hidden threats, requiring seamless coordination between human operators and the K9 team. As the exercise began, Maria and Duke moved with the flowing precision that came from years of similar operations. Duke's nose worked constantly, processing the complex array of scents that filled the training area. When he detected the first training explosive, his body language changed subtly, a shift that Maria recognized immediately. She signaled the team to halt while Duke confirmed the location of the device. Petty Officer Chen, who had been designated as Maria's partner for the exercise, watched with growing respect as she guided Duke through the search pattern. Her movements were economical and purposeful, and her communication with the dog was so subtle that it seemed almost telepathic. When Duke indicated a second device hidden beneath a pile of rubble, Chen began to understand why the Army had selected her for this program. The exercise continued for 2 hours, with the team successfully locating 6 training devices while maintaining tactical formation and security protocols. Maria's integration with the group was seamless, her positioning and timing allowing the SEALs to maintain their operational rhythm while benefiting from Duke's detection capabilities. When Tank called the exercise complete, the mood among the operators had shifted noticeably. During the after-action review, Tank invited Maria to provide her assessment of the exercise. She offered constructive feedback about timing and positioning, suggesting minor adjustments that could improve efficiency without compromising security. Her suggestions demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of small unit tactics that surprised several team members who had expected an Army specialist to focus solely on dog handling. Bulldog Martinez, who had been initially skeptical about the program, found himself re-evaluating his assumptions. Maria's performance during the exercise had been flawless, but, more importantly, she had demonstrated the situational awareness and tactical thinking that mark truly elite operators. When he mentioned this to Tank later, the team leader nodded thoughtfully, noting that Maria's military record suggested extensive combat experience beyond typical K9 operations. As the training progressed into its 3rd week, the exercises became more complex and physically demanding. The SEAL operators were known for their exceptional fitness standards, and Tank wanted to ensure that any addition to their team could maintain their pace during extended operations. Maria had been quietly observing their physical training routines, noting the intensity and variety of their conditioning program. When Tank announced that Maria would participate in the team's standard physical training assessment, some operators exchanged glances. The SEAL fitness standards were legendary, and even experienced military personnel often struggled to meet their requirements. The assessment would include a timed obstacle course, swimming evaluation, and endurance run that had challenged athletes and special operators from around the world. Maria approached the assessment with the same calm confidence she brought to all professional challenges. Her own fitness regimen had been developed through years of working with military dogs in demanding environments, requiring the strength to control powerful animals and the endurance to operate for extended periods in harsh conditions. she had also maintained the high standards expected of Army Special Operations personnel. The obstacle course came first, a complex series of walls, ropes, and barriers that tested strength, agility, and coordination. Maria moved through the course with fluid efficiency, her movements economical and precise. When she completed the course with a time that ranked in the top 20% of all SEAL candidates, several operators took notice. The swimming evaluation proved more challenging, as Maria's background had not emphasized aquatic operations to the extent typical of SEAL training. However, her strong foundation in military fitness and her competitive spirit carried her through the requirements, earning a respectable score that demonstrated her commitment to meeting SEAL standards. The endurance run was where Maria truly distinguished herself. Years of working with high-energy military dogs had built exceptional cardiovascular fitness, and her time was competitive with the team's strongest runners. As she crossed the finish line with energy to spare, Tank made another note in his evaluation file. Razor Martinez had been watching Maria's performance with growing interest. As one of the team's newer members, he understood the pressure of proving oneself worthy of inclusion in such an elite group. Maria's consistent professionalism and obvious competence were earning his respect, even as he maintained the healthy skepticism that kept SEAL operators alive in dangerous situations. The fourth week brought the most challenging exercises yet, involving night operations in simulated hostile territory. These scenarios would test every aspect of the joint training program, requiring perfect coordination between human operators and canine assets under conditions that closely resembled actual combat operations. Maria had been working extensively with Rex during her off-duty hours, building the relationship that would be crucial for operational success. The German Shepherd had responded well to her patient approach, his aggressive tendencies diminishing as he began to trust her leadership. Rex's exceptional abilities were becoming apparent as Maria guided him through increasingly complex training scenarios. The night exercise involved a reconnaissance mission where the team would infiltrate a simulated enemy compound to gather intelligence while avoiding detection. Rex would serve as an early warning system, using his superior hearing and scent detection to identify threats that human operators might miss. The scenario was designed to test the practical value of canine assets in real-world special operations. As the team moved through the darkness, Rex proved his worth repeatedly. His alert signals warned of approaching enemy patrols before the SEAL's night vision equipment could detect them, allowing the team to adjust their route and avoid potential confrontations. When Rex indicated the presence of simulated explosive devices guarding the compound perimeter, the team was able to disable them without triggering alarms. Inside the compound, Rex's presence provided an additional layer of security while the team gathered their intelligence objectives. His ability to detect approaching personnel gave the operators crucial extra seconds to complete their tasks and prepare for extraction. When the exercise concluded, the entire team had gained a new appreciation for the capabilities that properly integrated canine assets could provide. Tank's final evaluation of the exercise was overwhelmingly positive. Maria's performance had been flawless, and her integration with the team had reached a level that typically took months to achieve. More importantly, Rex had proven that the right dog with the right handler could significantly enhance SEAL operational capabilities without compromising their speed or stealth. The success of the night exercise led to discussions about accelerating the program timeline. Higher command had been monitoring the results closely, and early indicators suggested that the joint program was exceeding expectations. There was talk of implementing the program across multiple SEAL teams if the final evaluations continued to show positive results. However, not all team members were equally convinced. Petty Officer 3rd Class Jason "Snake" Williams remained skeptical about the long-term viability of the program. While he acknowledged Maria's competence, he questioned whether the added complexity of managing K-9 assets would prove beneficial during actual combat operations where adaptability and speed often meant the difference between success and failure. Snake's concerns were not unique within the special operations community. Many experienced operators had seen promising innovations fail under the stress of real-world conditions, and they remained cautious about accepting any change to proven methods until it had been thoroughly tested in actual combat situations. As the fifth week of training began, Maria faced her most significant challenge yet. The exercise would simulate a hostage rescue operation, one of the most demanding and dangerous missions in the SEAL operational portfolio. Success would require perfect timing, flawless execution, and absolute trust between all team members. Any failure in coordination could result in simulated casualties that would end careers and programs. Maria spent extra time preparing Rex for the complexity of the upcoming exercise. Hostage rescue operations involved rapid movement, explosive breaching, and close-quarters combat in confined spaces filled with civilians and hostile forces. Rex would need to maintain perfect discipline while operating in an environment that challenged every aspect of his training. The preparation paid dividends during the exercise. Rex performed flawlessly, detecting explosive devices that could have compromised the rescue while maintaining absolute silence during the team's approach. When the assault phase began, Rex remained calm despite the chaos of simulated gunfire and explosive breaches, his training overcoming the natural canine instinct to react to sudden loud noises. During the extraction phase, Rex's presence proved valuable in maintaining security while the team moved rescued hostages to safety. His ability to detect pursuing forces allowed the team to establish effective rear guard positions, ensuring that the simulated hostages reached the extraction point without further casualties. The exercise was deemed a complete success, with Maria and Rex earning praise from the exercise controllers and their SEAL teammates. Tank's after-action report emphasized the significant enhancement that properly trained K-9 assets could provide to special operations missions, recommending that the program be expanded and formalized. As the formal training program entered its final phases, Maria had established herself as a valued member of the team. Her professional competence, physical fitness, and tactical understanding had earned the respect of even the most skeptical operators. The bond she had developed with Rex had transformed a troubled dog into a valuable operational asset, demonstrating her expertise in both animal psychology and operational planning. The success of the program had attracted attention from senior military leadership, and there were discussions about Maria receiving a permanent assignment to work with SEAL teams. The prospect excited her, as the opportunity to contribute to such elite operations represented the pinnacle of military K-9 work. However, she also understood that final acceptance would require proving herself under actual operational conditions where the stakes were measured in lives rather than training scores. The success of the training program had created an unexpected problem for the SEAL team leadership. While Maria's integration had been flawless and the operational benefits of K-9 assets were now clearly demonstrated, the classified nature of the program meant that most personnel on the base remained unaware of her true role and qualifications. To maintain operational security, Maria had been instructed to keep a low profile and avoid drawing unnecessary attention to her specialized training. This directive had an unintended consequence. Several junior SEAL operators who were not part of the pilot program had observed Maria around the compound but knew nothing about her background or purpose. To them, she appeared to be just another support personnel, perhaps a trainer or administrative specialist who happened to spend time around the K-9 facilities. Her Army uniform and relatively small stature compared to the typically imposing SEAL operators reinforced their assumptions. Petty Officer Second Class Brad Hawk Stevens was among the most vocal of these uninformed operators. Stevens was a 3-year veteran of the teams with a reputation for aggressive behavior and a tendency to test anyone he perceived as an outsider or potential weak link. His previous deployments had been successful, but his abrasive personality had created friction with support personnel and even some of his teammates. Stevens had noticed Maria during her daily routines around the compound, and her presence had begun to irritate him for reasons he couldn't fully articulate. Perhaps it was her confident bearing that suggested she belonged among operators, or maybe it was the respect he observed from some of the senior team members when they interacted with her. Whatever the source of his annoyance, Stevens had begun making dismissive comments about Army personnel who didn't understand SEAL standards. The tension came to a head during the 6th week of Maria's assignment, when a scheduling conflict resulted in overlapping training activities. Stevens' team was conducting physical fitness training near the K-9 facilities while Maria was working with Rex on advanced detection scenarios. The proximity of the activities meant that both groups were operating in the same general area, though they were engaged in completely different training objectives. Stevens had been having a difficult morning. His team's fitness assessment had not gone well, with several members posting substandard times that would require additional training. His own performance had been adequate but not exceptional, leaving him frustrated and looking for someone to blame for the disappointing results. When he noticed Maria working with Rex near the obstacle course, his irritation found a target. The presence of Rex during the fitness training had actually been planned, as Maria was testing the dog's ability to maintain focus while operating near high-activity areas. Rex was performing well, ignoring the distractions of running seals while maintaining attention to his detection tasks. However, Stevens interpreted the dog's presence as interference with his team's training, and his frustration boiled over into confrontation. Stevens approached Maria with the aggressive posture that had intimidated support personnel in the past. His intention was to order her to remove Rex from the area and make it clear that Army personnel should stay out of the way when real operators were training. He expected the quick compliance he typically received from those he perceived as inferior in the military hierarchy. What Stevens encountered instead was a professional who had faced far more intimidating challenges than a frustrated SEAL with an attitude problem. Maria listened to his demands with calm attention, then politely explained that she was conducting authorized training that had been coordinated through proper channels. Her response was respectful but firm, making it clear that she would not be bullied into abandoning her assigned duties. Stevens' frustration increased when Maria failed to back down. Her calm professionalism and obvious confidence challenged his assumption that she was just another support person who could be easily intimidated. When he escalated his demands and began using language that crossed the line into personal insults, Maria's expression hardened slightly, though she maintained her professional composure. Rex sensed the rising tension and moved closer to Maria, his body language shifting to a more alert posture. The German Shepherd had been trained to respond to threats against his handler, and Stevens' aggressive behavior was triggering those protective instincts. Maria placed a calming hand on Rex's head, maintaining control of the situation while silently noting that Stevens was creating a potentially dangerous dynamic. The confrontation attracted attention from other personnel in the area, including several members of Stevens' team who were growing uncomfortable with their teammates' behavior. Petty Officer First Class Mike Ghost Thompson had worked with K-9 units before and recognized the signs of a well-trained military working dog responding to a perceived threat. He began moving closer, sensing that Stevens was escalating a situation he didn't fully understand. Stevens, interpreting Rex's alert posture as aggression rather than protection, made the critical mistake of reaching toward Maria in what he intended as an intimidating gesture. Rex's response was immediate and precisely controlled, moving between Stevens and Maria with a low growl that made his intentions perfectly clear. The dog's movement was not an attack but a clear warning that further aggression would not be tolerated. Maria commanded Rex to maintain position with a quiet word that demonstrated her absolute control over the situation. The dog held his ground but made no further aggressive moves, awaiting his handler's direction. Stevens found himself facing a military working dog whose training and capabilities he had seriously underestimated, while Maria watched with the calm professionalism of someone completely confident in her ability to manage the situation. The standoff was broken when Tank appeared, having been alerted to the confrontation by one of his operators. His assessment of the situation was immediate and accurate, recognizing that Stevens had initiated an unnecessary confrontation with someone whose role he didn't understand. Tank's intervention was swift and decisive, ordering Stevens to stand down and report to his team leader immediately. As Stevens reluctantly backed away, Tank turned to Maria with an expression that mixed apology with concern. He knew that the incident could have escalated into something much more serious if Rex had interpreted Stevens' behavior as a genuine threat to his handler. Military working dogs were trained to protect their handlers with lethal force if necessary, and Stevens' ignorance could have resulted in serious injury. Maria assured Tank that both she and Rex were unharmed and that the incident had been handled appropriately. Her calm professionalism in the face of unprovoked aggression impressed the SEAL operators who had witnessed the confrontation. Ghost Thompson later commented to his teammates that Maria's composure under pressure demonstrated the kind of mental toughness they respected in their own ranks. The incident report that Tank filed emphasized Stevens' inappropriate behavior while praising Maria's professional handling of a difficult situation. However, the confrontation also highlighted the challenges of maintaining operational security around a classified program. The need to keep Maria's true role secret had created a knowledge gap that could have led to a much more serious incident. Commander Morrison, who reviewed the incident report, recognized the broader implications of the confrontation. The success of the K9 integration program depended not only on the performance of the participants but also on the support and understanding of the broader SEAL community. Steps would need to be taken to prevent similar incidents while maintaining the security requirements of the classified program. In the days following the confrontation, word spread through the SEAL community about the incident, though the details remained vague due to the classified nature of Maria's assignment. What became clear was that the Army support person was someone who commanded respect from senior team leaders and possessed capabilities that went far beyond typical support roles. Stevens, meanwhile, faced consequences for his behavior that extended beyond a simple reprimand. His team leader, Chief Petty Officer Sam Ironman Rodriguez, was a 20-year veteran who had no tolerance for operators who created unnecessary problems through poor judgment. Stevens found himself assigned to additional training designed to improve his judgment and interpersonal skills. The incident also accelerated discussions about how to better integrate the K9 program with the broader SEAL community. While operational security remained paramount, it was becoming clear that some level of awareness would be necessary to prevent future misunderstandings. The challenge was finding a way to provide sufficient information to prevent conflicts without compromising the classified aspects of the program. Maria, for her part, continued her work with characteristic professionalism, treating the incident as a minor disruption rather than a significant problem. Her experience working with various military units had prepared her for the occasional personality conflict, and she understood that respect in elite units was earned through performance rather than rank or position. Rex had performed perfectly during the confrontation, demonstrating the controlled response that marked truly professional military working dogs. His ability to assess the threat level accurately and respond proportionally showed the value of extensive training and the strong bond he had developed with Maria. The incident actually served to demonstrate the capabilities that made K9 assets so valuable to Special Operations Forces. As the 7th week of the program began, the focus returned to operational training, though the atmosphere had subtly changed. The incident with Stevens had clarified for many observers that Maria was not typical support personnel but someone whose presence commanded respect from senior operators. While the specific details of her role remained classified, it was becoming apparent that she was involved in something significant. The training exercises continued to demonstrate the value of properly integrated K9 assets, with Rex and Maria achieving performance levels that exceeded initial projections. Their success was attracting attention from other SEAL teams interested in incorporating similar capabilities, though the expansion of the program would require careful planning and additional resources. Tanks evaluations consistently praised Maria's performance, noting that she had exceeded expectations in every measurable category. Her tactical understanding, physical fitness, and professional demeanor had proven that Army specialists could successfully integrate with SEAL operations when they possessed the right combination of skills and experience. The program was becoming a model for future joint operations initiatives. However, challenges remained. The incident with Stevens had highlighted the need for better communication about the program's goals and participants, even within the constraints of operational security. Future success would require addressing these administrative and social challenges while maintaining the high operational standards that had made the program successful. The morning of the final training exercise dawned clear and cold, with a Pacific breeze carrying the salt tang that was characteristic of the Coronado training facility. Maria stood beside Rex in the pre-dawn darkness, conducting the final equipment checks that had become ritual before any significant operation. 8 weeks of intensive training had forged an unbreakable bond between them, transforming Rex from a troubled dog with behavioral issues into one of the most capable military working dogs in the program. The final exercise would be the most comprehensive yet, simulating a complex counterterrorism operation that would test every skill they had developed during their time together. Intelligence indicated that a high-value target had taken refuge in a compound protected by multiple security layers, including armed guards, electronic surveillance, and improvised explosive devices. The mission would require stealth infiltration, explosive detection, target identification, and extraction under potential hostile fire. Commander Morrison had personally designed the exercise to replicate the challenges of actual special operations missions, drawing on his extensive operational experience to create scenarios that would push both human and canine participants to their limits. the exercise would be evaluated by a panel of senior officers from multiple branches, as the success of the pilot program would determine whether K9 integration became a permanent enhancement to SEAL capabilities. Tank conducted the final mission briefing with his characteristic attention to detail, outlining the complex operation that would unfold over the next 12 hours. The team would insert by boat under cover of darkness, establish overwatch positions around the target compound, and, then, conduct a systematic clearance operation that would test their ability to coordinate human and K9 assets under realistic combat conditions. Maria listened with the focused attention that had marked her participation throughout the program, taking notes and asking clarifying questions that demonstrated her thorough understanding of the tactical concepts involved. Her integration with the team had become so complete that newer observers might assume she had been part of the group for years rather than weeks. The boat insertion proceeded flawlessly, with the team moving through the calm waters of San Diego Bay with the silent efficiency that marked elite special operations units. Rex remained calm during the water movement, his extensive training overcoming any natural canine anxiety about maritime operations. Maria monitored his condition constantly, ensuring that the stress of the unfamiliar environment didn't compromise his ability to perform his detection duties. As they approached the target area, Rex's training took over completely. His sensitive nose began working the air currents, processing the complex array of scents that would guide his search for explosive devices and human presence. Maria interpreted his subtle body language with the expertise that came from hundreds of hours of training together, reading his alerts and reactions like a familiar language. The compound clearance began with Rex detecting the first series of improvised explosive devices that protected the perimeter approaches. His alerts were precise and confident, allowing the team to identify and neutralize threats that could have caused significant casualties during a real operation. Each successful detection reinforced the value that properly trained K9 assets could provide to special operations missions. Inside the compound, Rex's capabilities proved invaluable during room-to-room clearance operations. His ability to detect hidden explosive devices and concealed personnel gave the team crucial intelligence that enhanced their tactical decision-making. When Rex indicated the presence of simulated hostiles in rooms that appeared empty, his alerts allowed the team to approach with appropriate caution and maintain their tactical advantage. The climax of the exercise came when Rex detected an elaborate explosive device that had been hidden in the target's location, a trap designed to eliminate both the target and any personnel attempting to capture him. The device was sophisticated enough that it might have been missed by human operators relying solely on visual inspection, but Rex's exceptional olfactory capabilities identified the threat immediately. Maria's handling of Rex during this critical moment demonstrated the level of partnership that made military working dogs so effective. Her calm confidence guided Rex through the precise indication process that allowed explosive ordnance disposal specialists to safely neutralize the device. The successful resolution of this scenario proved that K9 assets could provide capabilities that significantly enhanced mission success while reducing risk to human operators. As the exercise concluded with the successful capture of the high-value target and extraction of the team, the evaluating officers were unanimous in their praise for the performance they had witnessed. Maria and Rex had not only met but exceeded every expectation, demonstrating that proper integration of K9 assets could provide genuine operational advantages without compromising the speed and effectiveness that characterized SEAL operations. Tank's final evaluation report was a comprehensive endorsement of both Maria's individual performance and the broader K9 integration program. His recommendations emphasized that Maria had proven herself worthy of permanent assignment to Special Operations Forces, and that Rex represented the standard to which all military working dogs should aspire. The bond they had developed was the foundation for operational success that could be replicated across the Special Operations community. The formal awards ceremony that concluded the training program was attended by senior officers from multiple commands, reflecting the strategic importance that military leadership placed on the pilot program's results. Maria received commendations that recognized both her individual excellence and her contribution to advancing military capabilities, while Rex was formally designated as one of the program's most valuable assets. However, the true measure of the program's success came in the weeks following its completion, when multiple SEAL teams requested the assignment of K9 assets to their operational units. The capabilities that Maria and Rex had demonstrated were seen as genuine force multipliers that could enhance mission effectiveness across a wide range of operational scenarios. Stevens, who had been required to observe the final exercise as part of his corrective training, found himself re-evaluating his initial assumptions about Maria's role and capabilities. Watching her perform under realistic operational conditions had made it clear that his confrontational behavior had been directed at someone whose qualifications far exceeded his own in specialized areas. The experience served as a valuable lesson in the importance of understanding situations before making judgments. Maria's permanent assignment to the SEAL community was approved within days of the program's completion, making her one of the first Army specialists to achieve such integration with Navy Special Operations Forces. Her new role would involve training other K-9 handlers while continuing to develop operational techniques that maximized the effectiveness of human K-9 teams in special operations environments. Rex's transformation from a troubled dog facing potential retirement to a premier military working dog became a case study in the importance of proper handler K-9 partnerships. The bond that Maria had developed with him proved that even animals with behavioral challenges could achieve exceptional performance when paired with handlers who understood their needs and capabilities. The success of the pilot program led to the establishment of formal K-9 integration protocols that would be implemented across multiple special operations units. Maria's techniques and training methods became the foundation for a new generation of military working dog programs, ensuring that her expertise would benefit countless future operations. Tank's team, which had initially been skeptical about adding complexity to their proven operational methods, became advocates for K-9 integration based on the capabilities they had witnessed. Their endorsement carried significant weight within the special operations community, as their operational experience and judgment were respected throughout the force. The classified nature of many subsequent operations meant that the full extent of Maria and Rex's contributions would never be publicly known, but their influence on special operations capabilities continued to grow as other units adopted similar programs. The partnership they had developed became the gold standard for human K-9 teams in high-risk operational environments. Years later, when Maria reflected on the challenges and triumphs of those first weeks at the SEAL compound, she recognized that the confrontation with Stevens had actually served an important purpose. It had forced the command to address communication issues that could have undermined the program's long-term success, leading to policies that better supported integration while maintaining operational security. Rex continued to serve with distinction until his retirement, accumulating a service record that placed him among the most decorated military working dogs in naval history. His success story demonstrated the potential that existed within every military working dog when paired with handlers who possessed the right combination of technical expertise, tactical understanding, and genuine partnership. The legacy of the pilot program extended far beyond the individual achievements of Maria and Rex, establishing principles and procedures that would guide K-9 integration efforts for decades to come. Their pioneering work proved that innovation and tradition could coexist successfully when implemented by professionals committed to excellence in service to their country. The bond between Maria and Rex became legendary within the special operations community, representing the highest ideals of partnership between human operators and their K-9 counterparts. Their story continued to inspire new generations of handlers and operators who understood that true effectiveness came from trust, training, and unwavering commitment to mission success. As Maria accepted her new permanent assignment, she carried with her the knowledge that she had not only proven herself worthy of inclusion among America's most elite warriors but had also established a foundation for future innovations that would save lives and enhance mission capabilities for years to come. The 8 weeks of training had transformed not only her own career but the entire approach to K-9 integration in special operations forces.